I have the latest one. I think I have the latest one. We usually have to wait a couple seconds because it takes time for it to go live because we're on a little bit of a delay. You know what delay means? Elliot, what's a delay? A delay is when I ask you a question and you don't answer right away. That's what a delay apparently is. But how about we get started?
Yeah.
Let's get started. Welcome everybody to That's Dalicious. Yeah, you said it. Wow, you're gonna say it for these last few times too, because we got a little bit of an announcement. Can you sit up a little bit so the microphone's not in your face? This is gonna be essentially the last full week is next week of the show. As the weather's getting better, we're gonna be transitioning off these daily episodes and kind of doing them as they show up. But next week we're gonna go all the way through Wednesday, and then we'll kind of play it by ear after that. So we're not going away. We're just kind of adjusting our schedule because we know your time is now precious. Everyone's going outside and having a good time. But, we'll figure we might make some changes that way. Anyways, today is I think it's May 20th. I don't even know what day. What day? I don't know what day it is anymore.
This is 20th.
I think it's May 20th. Again, thank you to Ryan and Jordan for being our Big Shot VIPs. Ryan, your sketch is coming. I've been delaying putting it together, but I've got a good one for you. We have an awesome show today. We have a very, very special guest, and my co-host has just disappeared. She's gone. She gone. Goodbye. We'll see you in a little bit. My good friend, Anthony Iavasile. Look at that beautiful gentleman in that picture. He looks exactly like that as I bring him in here. Ray, how is it going? It's a spinning image. Let's see. There you are. Wow, completely the same.
Yeah. Thank you for showing everybody that.
Yeah, all of us. Why do you think I don't show any pictures of myself? Because I have this now. My hair, it's gray on the sides. We're all living in it right now. So,
well, you look good, I have to say.
It's my daughter. She's the one that she just brings me up a few notches. But Ray, it's awesome to have you on the show tonight.
Well, thank you for having me.
I feel like I just got done talking to you like an hour or so.
You must have taken a nap and dreamed about it or something.
I did actually take a nap. For those that don't know, Ray and I actually work together over at our beautiful office. Well, we're not at the office. We're actually all working from home right now. But I've gotten to know Ray over the last few years, and I've fallen in love with his photography and his photographic style. So I thought, what better person to bring some of this creative flair and bring a really cool story about his work and his journey into the art that he creates and everything that he does than Ray, and to have him on right now because times have been kind of crazy and it's affecting everybody differently. And I wanted to kind of get your opinion. I'm going to run you through a couple of questions here that I'm making up as I go along because that's the way I do things at the office. It's the way I do things here. But I'm going to run a few questions and stuff at you. But I did want to get understanding. So first of all, who is Raymond Anthony Iavasile? Did I pronounce is it Iavasile or should I say Iavasile? John, our good friend John Below says hello. You'll see comments pop up
John.
throughout the show.
So yeah, it's maybe 100 and I think in 1910 my grandfather came here from Italy and it was pronounced Iavasile.
Iavasile. I like it. I got to do this with the hand.
Somehow,
every background has a different hand motion.
That's true. Somehow it got Americanized, and now it's Iavasile, which totally confuses everybody because when you look at the spelling of my name, it doesn't look like Iavasile. But that's all I've ever known. So I pronounce my name Iavasile.
Excellent. So you are several generations into being an Americanized like the rest of us. But
yes,
one thing that you are that you're very good at, and there's of course Beth is chiming in right there. One thing that the reason I had you on the show is photography, and it's this whole really awesome way that you do photography. But I wanted to ask you first, how did you get into photography, and then we can kind of walk into the story from there.
My father was always just an avid amateur photographer. He was always the uncle. Matter of fact, his name is exactly the same as mine, Ray Anthony.
Okay.
And he was the Uncle Ray that brought his camera to all the weddings, and he was the one that took better photos than the hired wedding photographer. And
sure.
So I just had this interest all my life in doing what my dad did, and got my first film SLR when I graduated from high school back in 1982. Not sure if I should disclose that.
Was that even a year? Don't worry, nobody cares right now. We're lost in our days and our years. I think it's still like January of 2018, so I can't tell you what it is right now. You're good.
But I once I had my own camera, I fell in love with it. My freshman year, I went to Western Michigan as a mechanical engineer as my major, and I skipped classes to basically take photography, basically to
Cool.
What do you call it? Like an extra credit photography,
like an elective extra credit, sure.
And instead of doing my calculus and my chemical, I basically was doing photographs in the streets of Kalamazoo. And
awesome.
Next thing you know, I'm in
a beautiful place to do that. Actually, beautiful place to do.
Next thing you know, I'm in Santa Barbara, California, earning my bachelor's degree at a school called Brooks Institute of Photography.
Okay.
And then from there, I worked in the film industry. Moved from Santa Barbara to Los Angeles and worked at Warner Brothers Studio for about 8 years. And during that time, as a person in the film industry, I started doing wedding photography on the side. So I gave up the movie industry, but I kept my wedding photography background. I've been doing that since I think 1992 is when I shot my first wedding.
Wow. That's insane. So you've kind of taken the glitz and glamour of Hollywood, and you said, forget movie stars. I want to get in there with the groom and the bride and kind of be in there with the family. So you took the route of a wedding photographer, and you obviously do other things. You have your scuba stuff is phenomenal, by the way, on Instagram. Thank you. The wedding photography, I think, is like you said, that you kind of transitioned on to doing that as well. So for right now, how often, without this stuff going on, how often do you typically do like wedding? Do you do gigs, weddings, events, that kind of stuff?
I try to stay around 20, 25 weddings a year. So that's been my average. I've had a couple crazy years. I think 2, 3, 4 years ago, we did like 40 weddings that year, and that was just over the top. Once we finished that year, I figured, we got to keep it at 25. So it depends, but anywhere from about I'd say 18 on minimum to about 25 maximum.
Oh wow! So it's a good amount. That gives you some time to relax in between, and Have you ever had a crazy weekend where you had a bunch of events going on at once?
Oh man, we've had some crazy weekends where we, usually with the type of work we do, we're there the entire day. So we're with the bride as early as she wants us to be there. We don't have packages that are based upon hours. We do what we call unlimited coverage within the wedding day.
Interesting.
So we'll often stay all the way to the very end of the reception, which is usually past midnight. So keeping it to one wedding a weekend is like probably good for my mental health. But a few years ago, we had a crazy event where we had a couple they were getting married up in Traverse City at a winery, and they loved my work, but they didn't like my price. So they basically had decided they would put a deposit on one of our associate packages, which is a little bit less than mine. And I went ahead and booked that Saturday. 6 months later, she tells us, hey, guess what? We raised the money. We want you to come up and shoot our wedding up in Traverse City.
Oh, wow.
And it's going to be on a Friday. So next thing you know, we're photographing a Friday wedding in Traverse City for, 12, 14 hours.
Wow.
Hitting the road at midnight and driving back to Detroit, getting home at 5 a.m, and we're at the bride's house at 8 o'clock on Saturday to start our wedding in Detroit. And we photographed that. That was probably the most crazy I think we've been.
I'm sure definitely tiring. You probably slept a little bit after that. A couple questions actually coming in right now. Do you do video or short film, anything like that?
So we don't do video, and that's the funny thing, because my background is actually motion picture production. That's what my bachelor's is in. But I got away from video just because I love still photography so much. And my mantra that it's the old mantra, jack of all trades, master of none. So rather than kind of being a little bit of everything, I decided I would just stick to what I love to do. And even with that, I'm more focused on a niche, which is not only wedding photography, but a very documentary approach.
Tell me a little bit about this approach, because I think that to me is what really, just perusing your website, and I'm going to have it up here in a second. But going over the website, I keep seeing all this really cool, this talk about this documentary style. So tell me, what is documentary style?
So documentary wedding photography is basically a style of photography that allows the couple to enjoy the whole day without our interruption. In other words, we don't work off of a shot list. We don't have a script. We basically show up, just another type of genre would, like, for example, you probably have seen in Time magazine back in the day where you'd see an expose on, say the day in the life of, the president of the United States, or the day in the life of some celebrity. And that's how I photograph a wedding. I basically show up and just follow the day as it just naturally unfolds. I mean, we still do their family portraits. We understand that's a given. We'll still do some wedding party stuff and that kind of thing. But 98% of what we do is a documentary style where we just let the day happen. And the onus is on us to basically find these great, not only emotional moments, but moments that are artistically, aesthetically pleasing. So it's a lot of pressure, because for me and for my associate photographers, we're not taking breaks. We're not sitting around chit-chatting, looking at our phones, checking out, the Michigan score on a fall Saturday afternoon. We are
Go
the
blue.
eyes.
At least we got that covered. So
we're the eyes and the ears of the couple, and it's our job to basically, create photos in the end that will allow them, A, to celebrate the whole day without thinking about us, but B, when they look at these photos, they're going to see photos of how the day actually happened, and hopefully we get some great ones. So
they're gorgeous. I mean, I'm looking at this one right here, and it's not a typical posed wedding photo. Like, stand with your mom, stand with your grandma, and smile. There is this beautiful, you've captured this emotional moment with this family in this photo, and I think that type of style is completely different than what I'm a wedding DJ, right? And I do 10 to 12 gigs a year, and I've been trying to cut that down, but getting my old age. So I look at wedding photographers, and a lot of times they tend to be very intrusive, and by that I mean they will get right in there and they'll tell, okay, yeah, I know you're having a moment, but can you guys spread apart a little bit so I can get a better shot? And I keep thinking, well, you're kind of taking over the wedding. You're changing their experience. In your case, you're not doing that. You're letting the event unfold, and you're just this, like I think you mentioned earlier, you're almost like this eye in the sky, or you're this bug on the wall, and letting things sort of play out and happen. And then the way you're framing shots, the way you're hitting lighting, those are the types of things I think that really add to that experience.
Let me comment on that last photo real quick?
Yeah,
the previous one with the ladies. So this is there's 3 daughters and a mom. The mom is the blonde that's closest to us. I had photographed the previous daughter's wedding a couple years previous, and then the bride, which is on the right. She's the youngest daughter, so she's the third of 3 daughters that's getting married. The father had passed away unfortunately in a tragic car accident when they were mostly in high school. So this was at the very end of the reception, and it's 3 daughters embracing mom. Because I mean, and you can't. I can't ask, if I had said, hey, let's get a photo of the 4 of you. Do you think that it would have had the impact that
no, not at all. Not at all.
So it's just it's that kind of thing where by me keeping my mouth shut, things happen, and things happen in a powerful way that photographically you can't duplicate if you try to coerce it. So And that's what I'm 55 years old. That's why I do what I do. I love what I do because
Gorgeous.
each and every wedding offers opportunity. This is the bride literally seeing her dad for the first time coming down. And just actually this photo was published in Southern, I think it was Southern Bride magazine, which is a big magazine.
Okay.
It was just basically, and the funny thing is it's in Royal Oak, Michigan.
The most southern part of Michigan.
Yeah, but I guess that they liked it because it had that feel. This is up north in north of Traverse City at a
beautiful the lifts over there. I mean, just the amount of work is great. You the fact that you can't plan these shots and you let them play out, I think, to me is what the best part of what your work is. And I flipped through these earlier, but I think, again, it's this idea that let things happen, and how you, Ray, the artist, captures this stuff, the lenses you use, the angles, the shots, the lighting, understanding, all that takes practice, all that takes years of experience. You can just be a dude at the camera and say, hey, everybody, let's do selfies. And a lot of people think selfies are fine. I'll be a photographer with my cell phone and that's it. Because I know what to do. Trust me, I've said that a million times as the DJ. I'll be the photographer. I got a cell phone. But the way you're doing it is you're letting that story unfold. And I love the idea of documentary style, photojournalism style that you're kind of encompassing. And it makes for more powerful photography stuff. I think these are the kinds of photographs and the kinds of images that family members will want to share on social media, at events, get big prints made of these, because it's like those moments that you capture that you can't capture if you plan for them. So kudos to that kind of work. There are a lot of questions coming in here. So I'm going to ask when our good friend Raz says, how's the advent of digital imaging changed how you work?
Oh my gosh, it's been huge. So, back in the day, I would shoot on what they called medium format cameras. You'd get 12 images on a roll of film, and then you'd have to stop and change the roll, and it take 2-3 minutes. You'd go to a wedding and we would calculate the number of rolls that we had, which meant how many photos we could take in a wedding, right?
Wow.
So it had to be pretty much to a script. Like you had to get this shot by the window, and you had to get, dad shaking the groom's hand. And, now with digital, we don't worry about it. We basically can shoot and to our heart's content. Now on the negative side, that it doesn't soften the amount of work. It actually adds work to the post-production, because you're looking at, I would say, an average wedding I'm photographing about 2,500 to 4,000 images. So
in effect, our good friend John just asked that same question: how many shots do you take in a day? Yeah.
That's it. And then you go through all those images, and then you basically kind of like a minefield. You're kind of mining out the good and the bad, the average or whatever. And
whereas if you had film, you're a little bit more cognizant, and you're kind of saving. Okay, all right, yeah. That's easy to or better understand. I know my wedding, it was a film-based wedding in 2006. The photographer did mostly film, and he gave us all the stills. And I thought, this is a lot of work. But knowing that if I did it digitally, it'd be 10 times what he took. I mean, not that he did a bad job; he did a wonderful job. But another question. One
other point to that to Raz's question there. That you get to take chances now too. So that's the other thing. Here back in the day, it was always a safe shot. So now when I photograph, of course I want a good photo of the bride. I want a good photo of her mom. But when I see something interesting like laying on the floor, or or going up into a balcony, or finding a reflection off of a window, or running outside and taking a shot from the exterior looking into the venue. Back in the day, we wouldn't do that type of thing because it was too risky. So now you get your safe shots, but then you take these risky shots, and that's the magic right there, because you find stuff that you would have never done before.
Most definitely. You get a lot of people saying hello. Heather Krebs says hi, Ray, and she says, when are you getting a haircut? So that's always a positive.
Right. Look at that.
Raz also says he loves the rule of thirds compositions, the way you're doing the compositions of your work. You have very much an artist's eye, where we're, as artists, we look at something as thirds, and then how do you set up that shot? How do you look at those perspectives? Really kind of focus on that. So kudos to that.
Thank you, Raz.
A question from David. Actually, David says, have Ray talk about dangerous, or he corrects it, fearless photography. What is fearless photography?
Fearless photography is basically what I just described, where you're the typical everyday. I mean, I want to be careful, but a wedding photographer can go into a wedding thinking, these are the types of photos that I have to get, and if I don't get them, then I'm going to be in trouble. So, for example, let's think about the processional of the wedding party coming up the aisle, or even the bride coming up the aisle.
Sure.
Everybody expects a photo of the bride's face and her father walking towards the camera, with the photographer typically center aisle, right?
Mm-hmm.
So a fearless photographer basically would say, that is what everybody expects. I'm going to get this photograph from a low angle from behind, just as the door opens. You don't see her face, but you see this beautiful train. You see her dad maybe looking to the side at his daughter with a gleam in his eye as she walks through and towards the groom. So, it's just things like that,
sure,
where, like I
break
said,
those rules, man.
You take chances and you break rules. That's exactly it.
John also asks, do they ask for black and white? Is that your call? Do you do it regardless?
Yep, I do. So I have a professional retouching service that does all my work. I ask them to do a specific amount of images in black and white. So typically I'll say do about 40% of my images in black and white. However, for my couples, I also have them do a color option. So when we put all the photos on, the images that were done in black and white, there's also going to be a color image for them. So,
okay. All right.
Yeah.
So you have both. A good one. Alex says, Ray, a man of your age, how do you have the endurance to shoot 12 to 14 hours? Do you work out? If Ray works out, are you wearing a shirt or a hat by any chance?
Yes, I work out. I work out every day.
I think you actually kind of have to. One thing that it's very important is there is and this is me knowing as a DJ, these are grueling days. They're not easy.
Yeah.
I mean, it's one thing to sit at your desk all day at an office like we do. It's another to be on your feet all the time, running around, moving, talking to people, being energetic, getting maybe a snack, maybe a dinner, maybe a snack at some other point if you get a chance. But you actually have to be in a little bit of shape to be able to pull this off. So
that's it. And my mindset is I'm not quitting wedding photography anytime soon. So I want to be healthy, right? I want to be healthy. I want to be in shape. I want to be able to. I mean, I'm not too far from 60, which blows my mind. So I want to be like
you're still wearing a Lions shirt, which means you haven't been that broken yet. Ray and I goof on the Lions all the time. We're super fans, but we're also super upset and super disappointed. Hey, what are you drinking, by the way? What do you got there? You got some wine?
Yeah, just some Cabernet.
Nice. I got myself some Elijah Craig that I've been sipping. I do have a question, because you mentioned you're not going to give up wedding photography anytime soon. You haven't been able to do it right now, though, and it's a very weird time. And you and I have spoken about how gigs are getting rescheduled. A lot of things are changing. A lot of stuff is up in the air right now. How are you kind of weathering this storm or this situation? I'm very curious to see what's happening in your neck of the woods.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I'm going to be a little rusty. I mean, I probably shouldn't say that publicly, but I'll be a little rusty.
There's only 11 people watching.
Good. Jumping into my first wedding. But secondly, I mean, the thing for me is I want to hit the ground running. I really do. Whenever the doors start to open up. So the bottom line is I'm doing everything I can on social media.
Okay.
I reopened my blog. I haven't, prior to the stay-at-home order, I hadn't blogged in 5 years, and I've been cranking out blogs about once a week now, and just really hitting Instagram and Facebook marketing and so forth. And yep, there's a blog right there.
Right there, envisioning your perfect wedding photography. Yep.
Yeah. So this is kind of I'm doing a series called Venue Spotlight. Basically,
Okay.
I've been at all of the top venues in Detroit. I'm on most of the preferred vendors list at most of them. And so, the big thing is when these couples are starting to book their weddings for 2021, it just dawned on me, the first thing they're going to do is they're going to book their venues.
Exactly. Yeah.
And so why not have a blog post, for example, in this case, this is more on my advice on how to decide on your wedding photographer.
Sure.
But why not have a blog post on the Detroit Athletic Club or the Royal Park Hotel in Rochester, so that when these brides are starting to choose their venues and they're looking at, they're doing a basic search on the Detroit Athletic Club, my blog post comes up, which brings them to my blog, to my site. So I've been doing a lot of that, and that's it. I think
terrific. It's such a great idea too. Connect with the people.
Yep.
And you and I had actually talked a little bit about maybe there are opportunities now, and you actually mentioned it in the blog post there about getting to know your photographer, right? And instead of just booking someone and maybe meeting once, maybe meeting twice, or shooting few emails back and forth, which, to be honest, a lot of folks don't always have the time to do that. But your blog post there mentioned get to know your photographer. And you and I were talking about how you've actually started reaching out. You're considering reaching out to more people and getting to know them, getting to know their families. So I think there's some really interesting things that you've even been starting to think about. But the blog idea is great, because to me, you're now searches are going to be up for you, and they're going to link more to you. You're kind of connecting with people in different ways. So when this subsides and wedding season starts back up, and people are starting to look for photographers and wedding acts and things like that, you're going to be first on mind. And I think right now you're doing it right. Prepare right now. We're all kind of in this together at the moment, but you're preparing. And I find that really super interesting, super cool.
I mean, imagine people right now that are, in the industry, whether they're DJs like yourself or photographers, videographers, wedding planners. I mean, everybody is kind of sitting around waiting for things to start happening again. If you're not doing anything right now, and then all of a sudden the doors open up, the people that are going to be found are the ones that were the most active. And so I mean that's
the most active, the most positive, the ones that are reaching out. Exactly.
Yep.
The ones that are getting haircuts because someone else says, did you get a haircut? What is that? A couple other questions here. David again says you shot literally hundreds of weddings, probably thousands at this point. What's your most memorable story from a reception or wedding event?
A wedding reception, my goodness. I'm
sure there's probably so many that it's hard to pinpoint.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, I've seen all kinds of crazy situations happen. I had one bride that for the whole day she was a nervous wreck, and by the time her reception came around and they announced the couple for the grand entrance, the door opened up and nobody walked through.
Wow.
And so, yeah, and this was a pretty swanky event at the Townsend Hotel in Birmingham.
Sure, yeah.
And
one, right.
So the door didn't open up, and the door shut. And then the next thing I know, the wedding planner is telling me the bride is upstairs and she's basically she's not coming.
Wow.
So the whole crowd, I mean, there was probably 250, 300 guests there, and we all waited probably an hour, maybe a little bit more than an hour, until she finally did the grand entrance and the reception started going.
She finally realized I might as well get married.
Yeah.
No, I mean, those types of things happen often, unsurprisingly maybe. These types of you know, a lot of people, it's a big day. It's a big mood for people, and it can be overwhelming for so many. And in that case, sometimes those events end up being memorable, not only for the bride and groom, but for you as well. You know, you're going to
exactly
you're telling people on a show just like this. Another question we have here is, Heather says, do you do portraits?
I do portraits. I do portraits more as a necessity.
Sure.
It's not that I don't like doing them. It's just that while I'm doing portraits at a wedding, it means I've got to take this hat right here. I like to tell couples.
So there's that Peloton hat I was talking about.
Yeah. Imagine this says portrait photographer.
So you got it. So you have to change left brain, right brain.
Right.
Thing. Yeah.
Right. I want to be the documentary guy. So if I turn this around, the portrait photographer, that means for whatever time I'm doing your portraits, I'm not doing what people are paying me for it, which is my documentary work. But
instead
I get it. I get it. I understand.
You end up doing sports scores. So that's
yes.
Another question here. Actually, Jamie says, do you have a Nikon or which one do you what's your preferred tool set?
I am a Fuji fanatic.
A Fuji fanatic.
So I used to be a Canon shooter for many, many, many years. Went through. I pretty much had every Canon they've had, up to the 5D3. And about 6 years ago, I decided I wanted to be smaller, lighter, meaning my camera, because I felt like with having smaller gear and lighter gear, I could be more unobtrusive. With the big Canon gear, you got the big, huge 70 to 200 zoom. Well, what happens when you pick up that camera? Everybody's head turns. They know where the photographer is. So my mind's, it's impossible. I mean, I've always had this dream about somehow being the kind of photographer that could wear a normal suit, look like a guest at the hotel or at the wedding, and blend into the day. Right. That as much as I've tried, that to this day that hasn't worked. But all I know is with the big Canon gear and the big Nikon gear, as soon as you hold it up, everybody knows.
Everybody knows. I like that idea of kind of being more. Do you have a go? She also asks, do you have a go-to lens? Or sorry, he also asks, do you have a go-to lens?
So the cool thing about shooting with mirrorless, which is Fuji, and which is also the other brand, I can't think of them. They're so small. I actually carry 3 cameras on my body, so I have I have a harness system with 2 cameras on each side, and I wear one right down my middle of my neck,
like a gunslinger almost. I can imagine you.
That's exactly what I do, and I've got 3 prime lenses. So I've got more than that, but I put like a wide angle on one, sort of a portrait lens that gives me a little bit closer reach, and then I put what they call a standard lens, like a 50 millimeter lens on the other. So I've got 3 different focal lengths. Depending on what the shot requires, I've got it. I'm ready to go. So I'm not stopping and changing lenses and that kind of thing. We
have just a couple more questions here, and then I'll let you go. Derek asks, what has been the most unique venue that you've taken photos in?
That's an interesting question. I've photographed a wedding ceremony in a helicopter flying over the Las Vegas Strip. I had to not only be the photographer, I had to be the best man, just because there was not enough room.
And the pilot and the bride. Really weird situation.
I've photographed all over the country, from the West Coast to Detroit to Boston to Florida. That would probably be the most unique is the wedding in the helicopter.
Excellent. Raz also says, when photographing. Wow, the alcohol's getting when photographing, composing, do you rely on the viewfinder? Do you like using displays? What's kind of a better, everybody has their preference, but I think a lot of us are curious.
I keep my eye in the viewfinder as much as I possibly can, but because of these light cameras, I do use the rear LCD screen. In situations, let's just say I'm in all the brides and bridesmaids are getting ready in a tight bathroom, and there's no way I'm going to be able to squeeze in there, or I don't want to see my reflection in the mirror. So I might hold my hand around the corner and
Oh,
just
interesting.
and get a glimpse of the viewfinder so I can compose my shot. And then or at a wedding reception, if I'm on a dance floor with 300 people and I'm like, I can't see a thing, I've got to lift my camera up. I'll use. So I would say mostly I use my viewfinder because it allows me to kind of stay in the zone, but I do use the screen on the back occasionally.
Excellent. So I've got one question for you. We were kind of talking about this yesterday a little bit. So you're part of the Professional Photographers of America. I think that was the name of it. And you were telling me about this thing called a dueling or some type of dueling presentation. Can you explain what this is real quick?
Yeah. So the Professional Photographers of America it's a national organization. There's I don't know how many. There's got to be.
It's just a block. It's a block of people that live nearby. No,
there's probably 20, 30. I don't know, maybe 50,000 photographers. Wow. I get my indemnity insurance through them, my equipment insurance through them. But they have a Detroit chapter, and I was asked by another professional wedding photographer, Sam Sarkis, to do a presentation, an all-day workshop with him, contrasting our styles. So Sam is more of a classic traditional style wedding photographer, and we did a wedding. The only wedding I did this year before the stay-at-home order was with Sam. We did a wedding in February where he was able to photograph the couple. It was actually his bride and groom, where he photographed the wedding just like they wanted him to do it. But I came and sort of hung around the outskirts and got my documentary work. And it was such a huge success that we really feel like we've got something to show the professional wedding photography world. So in September, the Detroit chapter of the Professional Photographers Association is going to allow us to teach a workshop on our two sort of contrasting styles, and then in the end show how we kind of brought it together and worked together. And yeah, it's going to be really cool. Looking forward to it.
That's cool, and that's in September. Ray, I have one more question, then I'll let you go. Before I ask that question here, I'm going to show everybody where they can find you. I've listed some of your links there, RayAnthonyWeddings.com, Twitter, Instagram, Ray Anthony Photo, Facebook, or, just find him out there. Ray's so cool to work with in the office, and he's so cool. Obviously, his work speaks for itself when you just go through the site and through his socials. It's fantastic to have you on, Ray.
Thank you.
So cool to have you on. I'm going to end with this final question. I think it's a big one that somebody sent in. Beth says, "Do you ride a Peloton by any chance?" Get the hat spun around. There you go. Ray, thank you so much. Have an awesome rest of the day. Looking forward to chatting, for office work.
Yes.
And we're going to chat more. Again, everybody, check out Ray's work. You can find him at RayAnthonyWeddings.com. All his socials are in there. Ray, we'll talk soon. Take care, my friend.
Thank you, Dally. Thank you very much. It was an honor. Thank you.
It was definitely an honor. Thank you. All right. Hey, look who's back. This little girl is back. I mean, not this little. My co-host, Eliana, half a return. Let's adjust the camera here. Eliana, how are you?
Good.
Did you have fun running off to the side?
Mm-hmm.
Good. So that was Ray. That was very cool to talk to him. Wedding photographer. There's a lot of cool photography stuff. But we have a joke because it's time for Eliana's joke of the day.
Our wedding was so beautiful, even the cake was in tears.
I loved it. In the theme of weddings, our wedding was so beautiful, even the cake was in tears. High five on that. Was good. That was good. I loved it. Awesome. And this has been Eliana's joke of the day. Wait, there's more. One last thing. Now it's time for the Macklish word. You love the Macklish word. The Macklish word, for those who don't know, a lot of first-time viewers here, Macklish word, me being of Macedonian background, having immigrant parents, don't always grasp English in the best way. They tend to mix a lot. It's absolutely hilarious. And I love my mom and dad and all my relatives, and we all like to butcher words together. Today's Macklish word is
sour.
Shower. We going to wedding shower. Shower. Anybody who's Macedonian or of Eastern European descent knows that one. Shower. Because that's how there's no SH, there's no W's. Shower. Ugh, this has been That's Delicious. Thank you, everybody, for joining us, watching tonight. It was a lot of fun. We had a great time with you. We had a great time with Ray, and we look forward to seeing you on Sunday. Again, next week is kind of our last full week. We're going to have shows Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then we're going to do shows as kind of the topics pop up and as guests pop in. So we're going to kind of ease into the summer now that the weather is getting really. Today was gorgeous, wasn't it? It finally stopped raining in Michigan here and around the other parts of the Midwest. But anyways, we will be back on Sunday as usual, and we will chat then. We love you, everybody. Remember, anger goes away. What else goes away? Sadness goes away. But what is forever? What's always there? Love is always there. We'll see you guys in the next episode of That's Delicious.